Hi guys, welcome back to an orchid video, and today I have a very special one for you. If you love indoor gardening or if you want to add some splash of color to your collection or to your indoor jungle, that video is for you. We're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of growing Oncidium Intergenerics. If that's something that you're curious about, would you like to know a little bit more? Stay here, I will show lots of beautiful footage of Oncidium Intergenerics. I have some that are in bloom now. It's their season. Autumn and spring is usually when we see most of them spiking. So I thought, why not? It's been a while since I last spoke about these beauties. And let's start. Let's dive straight in. As a disclaimer, this is based on my experience and the things that I discovered while I grow my Oncidium Intergenerics here in London. So it's based on my climate. If you have a similar climate, so probably some of these advantages and disadvantages will help you. If you have a different climate, you might need to adjust something, but I hope these tips are useful. If that's something that you'd like to see, grab your cup of coffee and let's start. To start this video in a positive note, let's dive in straight into its advantage. First of all, we have a variety of flowers, of blooms. They have different shapes, different colors, different size. Some of them are fragrant, others not. I think that it's one of the main reasons why people will choose Oncidium Intergenerics to grow. You can find ones with star-shaped flowers, others that will be super like purple or red, others that are yellow. So we do have a wide range of flowers here. And when we look into our collection and you can see when they push out their blooms, it definitely makes such a difference because they will push out usually many blooms. So not only they are colorful, some of them are large, others are smaller, but they are always in a variety and a big numbers of flowers. They will come with a big numbers of flowers, which is a great addition to any indoor garden. So the second advantage, when we're still talking about blooms here, is that their blooms are long-lasting as well. Like Phalaenopsis, I wouldn't say that they last like maybe 4 months like some Phalaenopsis, but they are not short-lived flowers either. These beauties, they can be in bloom for more than a month, and most of them will last a while. So not only you're going to have a wide range of different flowers inside your home, but they also are long-lasting. So the advantage number 3 here is that they bloom multiple times a year. Not only we have beautiful blooms, but some of these hybrids, they are capable to bloom more than once a year. And usually, I told you, most of them will be bloomed during autumn and spring, but some of them will bloom, I don't know, towards the end of the year, towards the beginning of the year. Some of them are very complex hybrids, and from the moment that they mature a pseudobulb, the pseudobulbs completely mature and it has enough energy, light, it will push out a flower spike and will reward us all the care that we offer them with these beautiful blooms. Talking about care, another advantage that I will mention here is the fact that they are pretty flexible, adaptable to indoor environments. So if your home where you live, I live in a flat in London, for example, has intermediate room temperature, which has intermediate light, you are capable of growing most of these hybrids. Some of them will require a little bit more light, so you might have to add some growing lights or place them near windowsill like I have this one here. However, most, or I think all of my intergenerics, Oncidiums and intergenerics, I'm able to bloom using only growing lights, which is amazing. So it doesn't need the same spectrum as Cattleyas. It needs a little bit more light than Phalaenopsis, but more than that, they are pretty adaptable. I place them under my shelving. They do super well with other orchids. So if you grow them indoor, you'll probably be successful with them. However, if you live in a very hot country, then you might need to water them very often. You cannot place them in a dark room. They will not grow there. But more than that, they are pretty flexible like most houseplants. If you offer them some bright, indirect light, give them some water, they should grow, they should thrive, and they should bloom for you. After all the advantages that I mentioned here, I could not mention some disadvantages as well. So these plants, they have their needs. They need their needs to be attended sometimes for them to be able to bloom. And one of these needs is watering. Oncidium Intergenerics, they have very thin roots. Most of them are epiphytes as well. However, they need more watering than the typical Phalaenopsis or moth orchids that we find locally. When the mix is approaching dryness, it's the right time for you to water them. But if you leave them completely soggy all the time, you might have some issues with root rot, and then the roots might die. So that's an issue. So you need to keep observing your plant, observing the pseudobulbs, see when they are starting to become a little bit dehydrated, a little bit wrinkled, and then you offer some water. And they like to keep evenly moist, but not soggy all the time. But they need their watering. So if you live in a very hot country and you don't have time to water your plant, I wouldn't go with Oncidiums because, talking about that, I think humidity would come here as well. These plants, they require a little bit more humidity than some of our Cattleyas and Phalaenopsis. It's not that I don't have a humidifier, I don't keep, adding humidity to my plants, but I live in a country that can get dry especially during winter time when I turn the heating on. But London is also a little bit humid compared to other European countries, which helps. But for me, the key thing for you to keep the humidity and for your plant not to suffer too much, it's again returning to watering. So what is an disadvantage can become an advantage if you just observe your plant. I think growing plants specifically, it's a good exercise for us to create bonds and relationship with other beings, because it's about observation. Like look at your plants, check them, see how their leaves are, if they are plumpy, if the pseudobulb's plumpy, everything is good. If things start to become a little bit different, maybe it's time for you to offer some watering. Anyway, let's go to the next disadvantage. For me, one disadvantage of growing Oncidium Intergenerics, it's size. They are, I forgot to mention up there, but they are pretty affordable, usually speaking. They are beautiful, as I mentioned already. However, they can be very tall, produce like super large leaves. And then if you have too many plants and you don't have a large space, that can be an issue. And for me, that's the main issue that when I think about buying orchids now, I usually don't think about buying intergenerics very often because I do have many, first of all. But the second thing is they do require a space. You need to offer them to give them the space for the leaves to keep growing, so the bulbs growing. And they start to become super large orchids. So you have to think if you have windowsills that are large enough for them, if you have shelvings that are large enough for them. That's one of the disadvantages. It's not a compact orchid, with some exceptions like the Oncidium Twinkle. There are some miniature or medium-sized orchids that you can find. You have to do your research, but a lot of them, they are quite like large creatures. So if you live in a flat like I do, that can be a disadvantage. But that being said, if you have this space, go for it. I don't think you will regret. Let's go to the next disadvantage. And it's one of the worst, I think, when it comes to Oncidiums, is they are super prone to pests. The leaves are very thin, so the way that the pests approach them is pretty, I think they must be super tasteful, because spider mites loves them, thrips likes them. Anyway, all the pests that I have, they all attack Oncidiums and Intergenerics as well. So I'm sure they taste super good, but I think it's the fact that the roots are thin, the leaves are thin, and on top of that, they produce, remember when I talked to you about size, they will grow a lot, they will push out many new growths, and the growths will have lot of leaves. And when you look into the leaves, especially with Oncidium, it's so difficult to clean them, to remove all the pests, because the pests will hide, beneath the leaves, among the pseudobulbs. So it's quite difficult to get rid of all the pests that will attack these beauties. And then it becomes a problem because your plant will start to decline in health, will not look very well, will not bloom for you because of the pests. I had many pests attacking my orchids and my intergenerics and Oncidiums. They always suffered. Some of them are a little bit more resilient, others a little bit less, but all of them got attacked. So that's the reason why I should have more blooms by now for the amount of Oncidiums and intergenerics that I have. But because of pests, they made my life a little bit harder, especially with these ones. The time and the amount that I took to clean them all, it's quite of a hassle. So just to let you know, I think for me, if I could point out the disadvantage of these beauties, this one would be the biggest disadvantage. If you have a pest in your collection, keep these plants away from the other plants because it's hard to clean them. But if you don't have any, if you have a very good pesticide or very good way of dealing with pests in your collection, you won't regret because they are beautiful. So now to conclude, are the Oncidiums and intergenerics worth the effort? Yes, absolutely. Imagining having your house full of beautiful blooms with different colors, and these blooms will last for a while as well. And they add so much to my collection. I learned a lot with these orchids, especially while I'm still in my orchid journey. I'm still learning, but these guys, they were one of my first teachers. So I super recommend these orchids. I think their flower spikes are usually absolutely wonderful, especially when all the blooms are open. So I hope you have enjoyed this kind of content. I do have other videos and I have tutorials where I talk specifically about care tutorials, Oncidium Intergenerics care tutorial. I'll link them down below. But today, my idea was basically show you some of these flower spikes, some of these beautiful blooms, tell you a little bit about my journey with these beauties, especially because now they are finally opening their buds. So I couldn't wait to show you all of them. I do have others with super massive flower spike, like my cherry baby here. Very close to me at the moment. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it's not opening yet. So I hope to have a ton of more Oncidiums and intergenerics soon. But for today, that was all. I hope you enjoy this type of content. I hope you enjoy my orchid journey. And I just want to also say thank you very much for all of your kind messages. I received all of them. Things are still the same, but I'll keep you updated in the next videos. And that's all. I hope to see you next time. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and bye-bye!